Well, cast your mind back to February last year, and you may remember the excitement when NASA successfully landed its Perseverance rover on Mars.
What are you planning on doing to make it habitable?
Well, at first, you would have to have a life support system because Mars has a low density atmosphere, only about 1% the density of Earth. I mean, right now, we can't even get one person to Mars.
There's water frozen under the surface. It is actually associated with that period in Mars's ancient history.
Elon Musk has recently released startling revelations about Mars, challenging our perceptions of the red planet as a potential site for humanity's future civilization. Recent explorations conducted by NASA have unearthed mysterious findings that defy our expectations and raise questions about the planet's true nature. What exactly have these discoveries unveiled, and could they pose any threats to Earth? Join us as we delve into the unexpected revelations disclosed by Elon Musk, shedding light on the fascinating secrets of Mars. Elon Musk revealing NASA's top secret. The quest for life on Mars has led to the discovery of complex chemical compounds. These molecules are made of hydrogen and carbon. Although their existence does not imply the existence of life, the elements of life imply that the circumstances for life may have once existed on Mars. Elon Musk's goal also includes solving the mystery of the brilliant deposit that appears in the Martian gullies and may indicate liquid water. Elon Musk is intrigued because, according to Michael Meyer, NASA's head scientist for Mars exploration, this indicates that water does occasionally flow on the surface of Mars. With a twist, water cannot remain liquid on the surface of Mars due to the planet's thin atmosphere and extremely high temperatures. Scientists speculate that these deposits could form if underground water seeps and freezes. Although discovering water on Mars is a top priority for SpaceX and NASA, the thin Martian atmosphere makes it difficult for liquid water to remain on the planet's surface. While some scientists believe that hydrogen detected from orbit could indicate the presence of salty water, others are unsure and point to structures known as recurrent slope lines that may contain salty water bursts. Mars has the same amount of dry land as Earth, although it is only half as large. It also contains the largest peak and the deepest valley in the solar system. At a height of 17 miles, Olympus Mons is roughly 3 times higher than Mount Everest. A series of valleys known as the Valles Marineris, named for the Mariner 9 expedition that discovered them in 1971, spans over 2,500 miles from east to west and accounts for almost 1/5 of Mars's orbit around the Sun. It's roughly as wide as Australia, and scientists think the Valles Marineris formed when the planet's crust stretched and broke. It has individual canyons that can be up to 60 miles wide. The center part, up to 370 miles wide, is where the canyons meet. Some canyons have big channels at the end, and the layers of stuff inside them suggest there might have once been liquid water there. Even with its dusty red surface, Mars still holds the potential to serve as humanity's next habitable place. The next chapter of human exploration. Mars has attracted a lot of attention lately because space organizations and forward-thinking business people like Elon Musk are involved. They hope to send people to Mars in the next few decades, and it's looking more and more likely that regular space shuttles will carry people to the red planet. But it is important to understand that projects of this size come with a high cost and a lot of difficulties. However, these expenses take on less significance when one has the will and means that Musk does. To put this into context, consider that the astounding cost of the NASA Curiosity rover alone was $2.5 billion. Now consider the enormous sum of money needed to enable humans to live on Mars. According to some estimates, this project could require between $100 billion and $200 billion in funding. Still, chasing this big dream is still really important. It's important to remember that mankind has already advanced greatly on the lunar surface. NASA intends to send people back to the moon by 2024 as part of its Moon to Mars effort, with plans to build a colony on Mars by 2033. This prompts us to contemplate whether NASA might benefit from insights gleaned from the British, who have a history of successful missions. Jim Bridenstine, the administrator of NASA, has announced that the Artemis project, encompassing the agency's return to the moon, is also poised to include plans for human missions to Mars. After all, why limit our ambitions to the moon when Mars beckons as the next frontier? Strange markings found on Mars took the whole scientific nation by surprise. Unidentified symbols and cosmic debate. There are two opposing viewpoints when it comes to space exploration. The first is that of Elon Musk and highlights the need for us to explore the cosmos in order to ensure our long-term survival. On the other hand, legitimate concerns have been expressed regarding the spending of hundreds of billions of dollars on space projects when there are urgent problems that need to be resolved on Earth right now. The level of discussion and attention this argument is receiving has been compared to that of a supernova. Particularly, Mars is still a popular destination for future space missions. Surprisingly, amateur explorers have reported seeing mysterious marks on the surface of Mars. The scientific community has expressed suspicion towards these results, blaming them on people with too much leisure time. However, a great number of amateur and professional astronomers have focused their attention on Mars due to these anomalies. Curved objects are frequently found in combination with these odd markings. The appearance of photos from Mars has sparked a lot of curiosity and fascinating debates. Amateur researchers are not the only ones who study it. Netizens, the larger online community, have also quickly taken notice. There are levels of mystery added to the continuous research on Mars by the proximity of these two odd objects and their quick twists, even though some are trying to figure out the proportions of these mysterious phenomena. Since man started to explore this planet, many discoveries have been made. Let's take a look at some of the discoveries. Locating massive volcanoes in undiscovered rivers. One of the largest volcanoes in our solar system, Olympus Mons, is located on Mars. With its roughly 370-mile diameter, this enormous volcano could absorb the whole state of New Mexico. It was shaped by lava that flowed great distances before hardening. It is similar to the gently sloping volcanoes of Hawaii. Other volcanic features on Mars include large expanses of lava-covered rock and small, steep-sided cones. On Mars today, there may still be a few minor eruptions. In addition, Mars possesses gullies, valleys, and channels that indicate liquid water may have once flowed across its surface. There are some channels that are 60 miles wide and 1,200 miles long. The possibility of oxygen-containing water beneath Mars's surface has been suggested by scientists. However, this is dependent on changes in the planet's tilt, which affects temperature and pressure. Low-lying flat plains can also be found on Mars, particularly in its northern hemisphere. These plains are among the smoothest, flattest regions in our solar system. They may have originated from water that formerly flowed across their surface. The northern part of Mars might have a thinner crust than the southern part. This difference might be due to a huge collision that happened when Mars was young. The number of craters on Mars varies depending on how old the terrain is in the southern hemisphere. There's a massive crater in Hellas Planitia that's 1,400 miles wide. However, the northern hemisphere has fewer craters because its surface is younger. Sometimes craters on a volcano can indicate recent eruptions, as new lava can cover old craters. Some craters have debris around them that looks like hardened mud flows, suggesting the presence of impact, hot water, or ice below the surface. The 2018 Mars Express mission, operated by the European Space Agency, discovered what appeared to be a combination of grains and water beneath the ice at Plenum, Australia. Though the amount of regolith in the water is unknown, some refer to it as a lake. This possible body of water is roughly 12.4 miles broad, and it looks a lot like the underground lakes in Antarctica that were found to contain bacteria the same year. A significant frozen region was also found by Mars Express in the red planet's coral crater. Throughout the period of man's exploration, experts have only been able to tour the red planets with the help of robots. But in order to get the real exploration feel, provisions are being made for live voyages to the planet. The Martian Dream by 2050. Elon Musk, who is frequently compared to the real-life Tony Stark, works hard with his company SpaceX to develop the technology required for human habitation on Mars. Musk has ambitious goals like the Starship project and hopes to build a self-sustaining Martian city by the year 2050. But it's important to understand that Musk is not just playing for fun. As a visionary businessman, he has serious worries about the future of humanity and believes that colonizing Mars will be a critical first step toward preventing our species from suffering the same fate as the dinosaurs. Whether it is possible to live in this utopian Martian society will never be answered. Time will tell. However, one thing is certain. Elon Musk and NASA are working together to solve the mystery of the 2,000-kilometer-long cloud on Mars. By working together, we can get closer to the prospect of coexisting alongside extraterrestrial life. What's life like on Mars? Starting with the massive cloud on Mars, it's enormous, roughly 2,000 kilometers across, and only appears in the Martian summer and spring. Every morning during the warmer months of Mars, a large cloud builds in a matter of hours close to the Arceus volcano. To put it in perspective, NASA is an incredible 1,800 kilometers long and 150 kilometers wide. That is equivalent to traveling from New York City to Houston, Texas. But here's the really amazing part. In 10 hours, it vanishes. This isn't just any cloud. It is the largest orographic cloud yet observed and is composed of frozen water particles rather than water vapor. Scientists are studying it using high-tech tools such as NASA's Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution MAVEN mission, the European Space Agency's Mars Express Orbiter, and many more. They've learned a lot, but many questions remain. Why is this cloud mostly in one region of Mars and appearing only in specific seasons? One idea holds that the Arceus volcano region's distinctive form has an impact. The massive volcano, which rises to a height of 20 kilometers, may pull humid air upward, which would cause clouds to form. Seasonal variations in air pressure and temperature may also be to blame. This massive cloud may aid in our discovery of Mars's climatic resources and life-bearing potential. Furthermore, it's possible that Mars contains valuable water deep within NASA, which Elon Musk may take advantage of, bringing his ambition of conquering the planet closer to reality. NASA discovered evidence of methane and other Martian microbes in 2014, which may indicate the presence of life on the red planet. This finding makes Mars our second home. Researchers are intrigued by these findings and are thinking about extremophiles on Mars. Methane on Mars is significant because it may indicate the existence of life or geological activity on Earth, but it can also be produced by some rocks that contain water, NASA, and Musk. In addition to studying Martian methane, they investigate non-biological sources. This next discovery have been able to grant scientists insight into the atmospheric composition of the Martian atmosphere, where ice never melts and dusty layers. From the poles to latitudes of around 80 degrees across both of Mars' hemispheres, there are thick layers of what look like dust and frozen water stacks. These layers were most likely developed throughout time as a result of materials continually settling in the atmosphere. Ice caps that are permanently frozen cover numerous of these layered deposits. Due to its significantly lower temperature than Earth, Mars experiences a temperature range of -195 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter in the poles to a relatively warmer 70 degrees Fahrenheit at the equator during midday. On average, Mars is around -80 degrees Fahrenheit. Even though Mars has an atmosphere about 100 times thinner than Earth's, it is still thick enough to support weather patterns, clouds, and winds. Carbon dioxide escapes from the atmosphere during Mars's winter, leading to seasonal changes in air density. Many scientists think Mars once had a much thicker atmosphere that could have allowed liquid water on the surface. Since Mars lacks a global magnetic field, lighter gas molecules gradually get stripped away by the solar wind. NASA's MAVEN mission studies this atmospheric erosion process. When Mars was young, its atmosphere may have been considerably thicker, potentially allowing surface water to flow. The planet does not possess a worldwide magnetic field. This permits the solar wind to steadily remove lighter molecules from its atmosphere. NASA's MAVEN Mars Hemisphere and Volatile Evolution mission investigates this process. Mars has winter weather that is unique to our solar system. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter found carbon dioxide forming clouds of snow. These are the first such evidences of snowy clouds on any planet. No other space body we know has winter weather with snow clouds like this. As warm air moves toward cooler areas, it generates wind that raises more dust skyward, warming it. This boosts wind velocity and dust formation, creating immense dust storms on Mars. Intense dust storms put robots on Mars at risk. For example, the NASA Opportunity rover was lost during a massive storm in 2018. This blocked sunlight for its solar panels for several days. Mars also has a longer year, lasting 687 days, compared to Earth's 365-day year. However, Mars rotates on its axis in around 24 hours and 40 minutes. This is just slightly longer than Earth's 24-hour day. This next discovery about Mars is shocking, yet amazing at the same time. Mars captivating moons. NASA's InSight lander arrived on Mars in late 2018. It landed near the planet's equator. Since then, it's been studying Mars's insides. The lander records every tremble and shift in Mars's position over time. By doing this, the InSight team can understand the planet better. Mars has a core measuring around 1,100 to 1,300 kilometers wide. According to InSight's data, the planet's crust is 14 to 45 miles deep. The mantle lies beneath, filling Mars's interior. InSight provided these measurements, allowing scientists to understand Mars's structure. Earth's mantle extends deeper, around 1,800 miles underneath the surface. Inside Earth's core is a massive sphere, nearly 4,400 miles wider than Mars itself. The crust of Earth consists of two types, continental and oceanic. The continental crust has an average thickness of approximately 25 miles. In contrast, the oceanic crust is relatively thin, averaging only 5 miles in depth. Hall, an astronomer from America, spent 7 days in 1877 finding Mars's moons, Phobos and Deimos. Angelina, his wife, urged him not to give up searching for a moon on Mars. He discovered Deimos the very night when he nearly quit. Then, 6 days later, Hall spotted Phobos. He gave them the names Phobos, which means fear, and Deimos, which means root, in honor of the Greek war deity Ares' sons. It is thought that both Phobos and Deimos are composed of carbon-rich ice and rock, coated in loose boulders and dust. Their forms are irregular, and they are smaller than the moon of Earth. The largest possible width for Phobos is around 17 miles, while Deimos can only reach about 9 miles. Earth's moon, in contrast, is 2159 miles wide. The craters on Mars' moons come from meteor strikes. Phobos also has grooves on its surface, possibly from the impact that created its largest crater, which is about half its width and measures around 6 miles across. Phobos and Deimos' origins remain a mystery. They could be old asteroids trapped by Mars's gravity, or they could have originated when Mars did. According to some scientists, Phobos' reflection of ultraviolet light indicates that it is a captured asteroid. With each century, Phobos moves 6 feet closer to Mars on a steady gradient. It might collide into Mars or break apart in roughly 50 million years, leaving a ring of debris circling the planet. It is indeed clear that Mars and Earth both have their differences and similarities. What are the similarities and differences? Examining the relationship between climate patterns and seasons. Because of its slanted orbit around the Sun, Mars experiences shifting seasons, much like Earth does. However, because of its longer orbit, Mars suffers more harsh seasons. Throughout the Mars year, there are major changes in sunlight due to this irregular orbit. When Mars is closest to the Sun, its southern hemisphere experiences a brief, warm summer. In contrast, the northern hemisphere experiences a brief, cold winter. Because Mars points toward the Sun, the northern hemisphere experiences a long, pleasant summer when Mars is furthest from the Sun, while the southern hemisphere, unlike Earth, experiences a long, cold winter. Because Mars doesn't have a big moon to keep its axis tilt stable, it experiences extreme variations throughout time. The result is a range of climates on the surface of Mars. According to a 2017 study, these tilt changes may have had an impact on the methane released into the atmosphere, leading to sporadic warming periods that let water flow. Mars's diameter is approximately 4,220 miles, compared to Earth's 7,926 miles. Approximately 38% of Earth's gravitational attraction is attributed to Mars, meaning that an individual weighing 100 pounds on Earth would weigh just 62 pounds on Mars. The masses of the two planets are nearly equal. Mars's global magnetic field vanished about 4 billion years ago, allowing the solar wind to largely remove its atmosphere. There are areas of the red planet's crust that are up to 10 times more magnetic than anything on Earth, which may indicate that they were formerly part of a global magnetic field. Mars most likely has an iron-based solid core. Nickel and sulfur are similar to Earth. Most of Mars is mantle, like Earth, which is composed of peridotite, which contains silicon, oxygen, iron, and magnesium. In the northern hemisphere, some crustal rocks may be andesite, a volcanic rock with more silica than basalt. The majority of Mars' crust is likely made of basalt, a volcanic rock also found on Earth and the Moon. With scientists able to know the patterns of climate change and relationships between the seasons, they have been able to know more about the planet's atmosphere. But it goes without saying that they have faced some challenges. Let's take a look at them. Space agencies including NASA, Russia, the European Space Agency, China, Japan, and the Soviet Union have found it difficult to explore Mars. In the process, several spacecraft have been lost. After several voyages to Mars, the mission has been the same, searching for signs of life. A decade of exploration. Mars approached Earth more closely in 2003 than it had in 60,000 years. In January 2004, NASA launched Spirit and Opportunity, two tiny rovers, to investigate Mars. Originally scheduled to last for 3 months, they discovered traces of historical water movement on the planet's surface. Both rovers ran for much longer. Opportunity ran until a dust storm in mid-2018, while Spirit ran until NASA declared it dead in 2011. NASA sent out the Curiosity rover in 2011 to look into the possibility that Mars has had a previous life. In the Gale crater, evidence of a once habitable lake and stream system was discovered. In addition, complex compounds and seasonal fluctuations in atmospheric methane were discovered by Curiosity. In 2006 and 2014, NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and MAVEN investigated the planet's atmosphere. In addition, the Mars Express and Trace Gas Orbiter orbited the planet. NASA's Mars InSight lander was successfully landed in 2018 to investigate Mars's innards and tremors. Launched in July 2020 with the goal of gathering samples and looking for signs of life, the Perseverance rover has taken over 282,000 images and produced the first sounds to be heard on Mars. The Mars rover broadens our view of the planet and advances scientific knowledge of its atmosphere. Though the barren, sandy landscape might not appear valuable at first, Mars's rocks have a geological history spanning thousands of years, much like Earth's. The primary goal of Perseverance is to look for biosignature traces of ancient life in these rocks. In order to prevent any environmental risk, the rover started its mission by gathering 8 rock samples from the crater bottom. Researchers have a difficult mission planned to retrieve these samples in the early 2030s. There is still work to be done before then. Perseverance's collection of images and audio aids in the planning of forthcoming investigations, a critical phase in the attempt to unveil prehistoric existence. Jezero is thought to have once been flooded with water. The crater contains a fan delta deposit rich in clays. With persistence, scientists investigate the past of a severely eroded river delta in Jezero crater, which is thought to have originated from an asteroid collision some 4 billion years ago. They are aware that this crater was formerly home to a lake that was supplied by a river that left behind boulders and sediment. The sedimentary rocks that make up the Jezero Delta are most likely where biosignatures and traces of ancient life can be discovered. Due to their probable exposure to liquid water in the delta habitat, these rocks may indicate conditions favorable for prehistoric life on Mars, according to Katie Stack Morgan, Deputy Project Scientist for the Mars 2020 mission. Perseverance unexpectedly discovered volcanic rocks rather than sedimentary ones, indicating that the crater was formerly filled with lava. This finding contradicts their assumptions. While the potential for astrobiological discoveries is lower with igneous rocks, they're still valuable for understanding Martian history. Perseverance's core samples will help create a Martian geologic timeline. aligning significant events with real dates if they eventually make it to Earth. Scientists are eager to study both sedimentary and igneous rocks because they each offer distinct insights. So this unexpected discovery of volcanic components is a gain. Stromatolites, which were created by microscopic organisms that captured and solidified sediments into layered rocks, are remnants of the first life on Earth. These layers, which have been maintained for billions of years, give scientists vital information. Such evidence of ancient life might be found by Perseverance on Mars, but it can be difficult and time-consuming to distinguish biological activities from geological ones. With the ability to examine chemical compositions, Perseverance may be able to identify organic molecules, which are the fundamental components of life as we know it. The new NASA space rover is designed to collect samples, but how does it get back? This question hangs around in the air. As of right now, the Persistence rover has 10 safely sealed tubes. A sample of the atmosphere is contained in one of these tubes, while another is a witness tube that was sealed while the rover was still on Earth and used as a control sample in its caching system. Samples of rock meant for scientific analysis are contained in the remaining 8 tubes. It was a fortunate accident that resulted from an unforeseen problem that one of these tubes encountered. This particular tube ran dry during the first sampling of the mission's rock core of Endurance. Researchers referred to the incidents as the case of the lost sample because it first gave them some anxiety. Further investigation, however, showed that the original rock was crushed accidentally, since it was not the kind that the machinery was designed to drill. As a result, the empty tube was shut, and as part of the preparations for a return, drilling into other rocks has gone smoothly ever since. The collection of double samples, or getting 2 cores out of each rock, is the goal of mission Persistence. It is important to remember that this trip is still in the planning stages and will likely take several years to complete. When these samples are eventually brought back to Earth, there are 2 possible approaches. One possibility is that the rover could deposit the samples on the Martian surface with the intention of retrieval by a subsequent expedition. Alternatively, the rover could retain the samples and eventually deliver them to the organization responsible for returning them to Earth. This approach keeps the options open for the upcoming return expedition. At present, scientists are focusing their efforts on gaining a deeper understanding of the new Delta scientific program and the valuable discoveries that Perseverance is expected to make during its mission. As of now, the Perseverance rover's revelation has unlocked a new chapter. But how are these discoveries related to us? Establishing a civilization on Mars. There is a growing amount of interest in the concept of sending people to Mars. Late in 2017, a group of scientists from various institutions proposed that Nestling might be in charge of a manned Mars mission, possibly in the 2030s. NASA was instructed under the Trump administration to prioritize lunar resupply before Mars exploration by the late 2020s. NASA thinks that the knowledge gathered from lunar missions will assist with the difficulties of landing on Mars as part of the Artemis program. It is difficult to send people to Mars. Present rocket technology takes at least 6 months to reach the planet, exposing occupants to harmful levels of radiation from deep space and extended periods of weightlessness. Another major problem is adjusting to functioning in Mars's gravity after spending months in space. While other nations like China and Russia prepare trips to Mars, the International Space Station is studying the effects of prolonged weightlessness. Ever since its creation in 2002, Elon Musk's SpaceX project has had human colonization of Mars as its goal. For this reason, SpaceX is developing the Starship, a reusable spacecraft. They also have an agreement with NASA to use a modified Starship on lunar expeditions throughout the following 10 years. Musk thinks the spacecraft will be able to carry people to Mars and the Moon once it is completed. Although the precise dates are unknown, Musk has a history of achieving his objectives. Thanks for watching. Share what you think in the comment section below. Remember to like and subscribe to see more videos.